hit that button in me that frets about the future and wonders what it holds. And the part of me that's concerned that I get it all planned out to my best advantage. What I really want is a guarantee that I will be safe and sound, as if a bigger barn could provide all that. One of my favorite authors, Martha Beck, says, the struggle to get what we want is the story of our lives. As you think about your life, you may see that to be true. The struggle to get the love you want, to get the work that matters to you, or recognition in your work. Maybe it's to get approval from your parents or another group of people that matter to you. It may be a struggle you have with self-acceptance or self-love. So as you think back on the struggle of your life, what have you really struggled to get? Through your life, what have you really wanted? Then you almost have to ask, how do we even know what we want? Why do we struggle for the things that we struggle for? We usually turn outward to look at what other people seem to want. And since so many other people value certain objects, homes or cars or vacations, boy, if we could just have that, well then we'd have fulfilled our goal. We'll have gotten what we think we want. Sometimes the struggle is simply to be true to yourself, though, not to do work that other people value or pursue goals that other people have for you, but to turn inward and decide what is it I really want and to go for that particular thing. But in looking outward for affirmation or looking outward to things and stuff that tries to give our lives meaning, we really misunderstand what gives us security and what actually gives us safety or deep feelings of acceptance. So looking outward for that stuff never works. I used to go to estate sales a lot. It seemed like a great way to get some helpful tools or items that I did need to take care of my house or my yard. But it also created in my mind's eye this future day when all the stuff, cute and oh so necessary, all that stuff I just had to have to make my living room look right, or to just make me feel like my life had a fullness to it. I could just imagine all my stuff lying spread out over a ping pong table in some house I no longer occupy. And people pawing through my stuff, many wondering who in their right mind had ever wanted that in their home in the first place. But it seems that with a lot of the stuff I want, and the stuff that I tend to pile up, what underneath all of that is guiding my actions is a yearning to feel more comfortable in my own skin. If I buy this, I'll look more like other people. And maybe people that I want to have accept me will accept me. If I can just bump up my retirement account, I know I'll be fine. If I could just get this, then I'll feel more secure. But I think it was one of the Rockefellers, some of the wealthiest people in the world. And one of them was asked, well, how much is enough? And that person said, well, always just a little bit more. That's the tendency, just a little bit more would make us feel just a little more secure. We can all identify with that, just a little bit more, and then I'll feel like I have enough. But this author, Martha Beck, goes on to say that while people's desires, what they kind of go after, what they seem to want, seem endlessly varied, the feeling states that we all desire are few and simple and universal. What we all really want is peace. We want security. We want to belong. We want comfort. We want love. And we want joy. Those are all things that universally people really want. And we think we'll get those things, those feelings, by owning the right things, building a bigger barn. If we have enough money, or if we're thinner, or more successful, those are all classic definitions of bigger barns. But see, we can have all the stuff that says we should be secure and feel secure and still not feel secure. You might have a giant retirement account, but still not feel secure. Because no barn, big or bigger, can actually give us that. We'll always want just a little bit more. What Jesus is asking us to do today in this reading is to consider, to recognize and pursue what actually gives us security. To begin to develop and lean on that feeling of inner security, that you're held by an infinite love, that the God of the whole universe cares about you and your needs. Faith is a growing confidence that, as Paul said, whether we live or whether we die, we're the Lord's. It doesn't matter if we're living or dying, we belong to God. So in life or death, you know security in God. That's what we think we'll get by having more stuff, but it can't come through stuff. It only comes in God. This is one place where I really do lean on my baptism. God chose me. God chose you and desires you. And the baptismal promises that are enduring and eternal, they tell us that. Child of God, you've been sealed by the Holy Spirit, marked with the cross of Christ forever. That's who you are. That's something you can lean on. Those promises redirect me to the true source of security and where it comes from. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is the story in Exodus. The story of the liberated slaves wandering in the wilderness, moving from slavery to a place that's unknown to them, that's been promised to them. And it's a bountiful land that's promised by God. And what God instructs the wandering Israelites before they get to the promised land is that as they go through their days, they are not to accumulate any food. And you think that would just be the most unwise thing you could do. Head off into the desert with no food. But God says God will daily give them what they need. So in Exodus it reads like this: I'm going to rain bread from heaven for you. And each day the people shall go out and gather enough for that day. Enough for that day. On the sixth day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather on the other days. Why? Sabbath. Yep, God will even provide enough food for the day you don't work. The day that you take off to rest, God will provide this food for you. So gather enough on the 6 days for both days. Then there will be quails, meat to eat in the evening, and your fill of bread in the morning. Gather as much of it as each of you needs. The Israelites did so, and they had their fill. So Moses said to them, let no one leave any of it over until the morning. So you can't save it for the next day. One author wrote about that. The one thing forbidden was hoarding, because hoarding reinforced a worldview of scarcity. Oh, I might have to hang on to something because there might not be enough later, so I'm going to hang on to it. But God was teaching them about God's abundance, which is a very different worldview from the one all of us have. Where they had once been dependent on what came from their master's hand, now they could look to God's hand. And they saw abundance every day. to the reading. So he said, let no one leave any of it over until morning. But they did not listen to Moses. Some left part of the manna until morning, and it bred worms and became foul. And Moses was angry with them. Morning by morning they gathered it as much as they needed, but when the sun grew hot, it melted. So they could not hoard or store up or sit still long enough to build even a little tiny storage shed. And yet, every day they had enough from God. Every day they found that with God, there's abundance. This isn't a miracle story. It's a story about the movement for those slaves and for us to move from trusting the old ways of slavery to trusting new life in God. That it is in our relationship with God that we can feel the true security and confidence that we all long for, and that we mistakenly think we can build bigger barns to protect. Richard Rohr wrote an interesting comment on this section of Luke. If you knew your world was going to end 1 month from today, what would you do right now? What would really matter to you? Would you spend the last few weeks of your life being concerned about sex, success, status, degrees, and fame? You know what you probably do. Through email or in person, you tell as many people as you could one of 3 things. I'm sorry. I love you. I forgive you. That's what you do for this last month. That's what life's all about. That's the kingdom, he said. The kingdom is to live now what matters forever. Finding security through having enough possessions will always elude us. We'll always want just a little bit more. And maybe God designed possessions and money in such a way that they never give us what we emotionally need, or give us the feeling of security that our hearts are craving. But Jesus is pointing out to us, that's what we're supposed to get from God. That's what our relationship with God provides. This is what the faith tradition is always letting us know, while bigger, better barns let us down. God never does. Leading into God and growing deep is what gives you confidence and security, even if the rest of your life is not going exactly the way you had hoped it might. I'm going to end with the last stanza of the Reformation hymn, Martin Luther's hymn, A Mighty Fortress is Our God. God's word forever will abide, no thanks to foes who fear it. For God himself fights by our side with weapons of the Spirit. Though they may take our house, goods, honor, child, or spouse, though life be wrenched away, they cannot win the day, because the kingdom's ours forever. That's security. The kingdom is to live now what matters forever. Amen.